Mr. President, I come to the floor today having just listened to the minority leader in the Senate talk about his view of the world and the economy and what the American people are seeing. Well, it is a misguided view, misunderstood, because he's clearly not seeing what so many Americans are seeing today in their lives. So I rise to share some outstanding economic news with the nation, because people back home are seeing that America is getting back on track. Americans want, need, and voted for affordable prices. Today, inflation is at a 4-year low. Inflation has fallen every month since President Trump and Republicans took office. Americans want, need, and voted for higher wages. Income has risen nearly every month, actually every month, since President Trump and Republicans took office. Americans want, need, and voted for affordable groceries. Egg prices have dropped 61% under Republican leadership. Today, Americans are feeling upbeat about the economy. Last month brought the largest boost in consumer confidence in 4 years. Americans are confident about their future. A majority of Americans now say the country is finally heading in the right direction. This is after 4 years of high prices. CNN's own poll this weekend, this is CNN, they found that Republicans have a better economic plan than the Democrats. Not by 1 point. No, CNN didn't say by 1 point or by 2 points, but by 12 points, double digits in the CNN poll. Republicans have a better economic plan than the Democrats. When it comes to the economy, Americans trust Republicans over Democrats. CNN on-air reporters appeared shocked and stunned. The video was astonishing. Look, Americans trust us because they are seeing real results. They are seeing Senate Republicans here fighting for them. Republicans have used the Congressional Review Act to reverse 18 punishing regulations and rules out of the previous administration. The most recent was when we ended California's left-wing electric vehicle mandate. You remember that's the one that said you had to buy an electric car. They were going to ban gas-powered cars by the year 2035. We got rid of that, and the American people are grateful. Now we're working on a comprehensive economic plan to deliver safety and prosperity for all Americans. Here are the facts. Republicans are committed to stopping a $4 trillion Democrat tax increase. It would be the biggest tax increase in American history. We cannot let it happen in spite of the fact that the Democrats want it to happen. We also cut taxes on tips and overtime. Hardworking Americans will keep more of the hard-earned money and put it in their pockets, not in the government till. Seniors will be able to keep more of their Social Security. They've earned it. Republicans will also strengthen Medicaid for Americans who need it. Medicaid is a vital service. Well, let's talk about those who need it, because it is a $1 trillion program, and what we see is that billions of dollars are being lost year after year to not just waste, fraud, and abuse, but also to corruption. And that's taking the resources away from the people who need it. Remember, it's the Democrats who put millions upon millions of healthy, working-age adults onto Medicaid. Many of them absolutely refuse to work. Democrats want them to stay on Medicaid forever. Republicans want them to find a job. So, Mr. President, the American Enterprise Institute, an organization that everyone in the Senate is familiar with, they came out with a report last week that said how non-displaced Medicaid recipients without children, non-disabled Medicaid recipients without children spend their time. So let's take a look at how folks who are working age, individual who choose not to work, who are taking Medicaid benefits, interfering with sometimes other people who need the Medicaid much more than they do, but how's it working? How do they spend their time? Well, for Medicaid recipients who are not working, they say that after sleeping, watching television and playing video games is how they spend their time. How much time? An average of 4.2 hours per day watching television and playing video games rather than looking for work or working or volunteering or in school or education or preparing themselves to work. Apparently, they spend about 22 minutes looking for work. Quite a disproportionate effort. It shows where their priorities are. They're not looking for jobs. They're not looking to get off of Medicaid. They like the life, television and video games. And the Democrats want them to stay on it forever. And they want the American taxpayers to pay for it. The American people are fed up with that sort of abuse of our taxpayer dollars. It was Democrats who gave 1.4 million illegal immigrants Medicaid benefits. How many people in our home states want that to happen? Very few in my home state, and Mr. President, I'm sure very few in yours. Well, the California governor, you know what he wants? He wants to add even more illegal immigrants onto the Medicaid rolls. Republicans want Medicaid for Americans who need it, not for 1.4 million illegal immigrants. And it was the Democrats who spent over $1.8 billion from Medicaid for transgender surgeries for minors. How many people in our home states think that is a use of government money? Republicans will also unleash affordable, reliable American energy. These are the things that are making the economy strong. The lower prices at gas stations and on electric bills. Senate Republicans are building a stronger, more prosperous America. That's why we have such good economic news and why people are saying, yes, we're getting onto the right track. What are the Senate Democrats doing? They continue to be committed to obstructing the Republican agenda, and they say they're going to do it every step along the way. That's what we see coming from the minority leader. They want to stop President Trump from even getting his team in place. The Democrats are filibustering every one of the president's nominees. Actually, by the end of this week, the Senate Republicans will have confirmed 74 nominees from President Trump that he nominated since January. 74 nominated. The Democrats have filibustered 73 of the 74. The only one they didn't was Senator Marco Rubio. And then in the Foreign Relations Committee last week, they said, we're sorry we voted for you, because they don't like what he's doing. Look, I've reviewed nomination records stretching back to the 1980s. 13 of these positions that require confirmation in the Senate have never before had a roll call vote in the United States Senate, going by voice vote or unanimous consent. The Democrats have filibustered all of them. That's how obstructive they are. They filibustered the chief of protocol for the State Department or the Undersecretary of Commerce for Industry and Security. These are not controversial individuals. These are people that the Democrats say, we're just going to try to stop President Trump no matter what he tries to do. They even filibustered the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. All to tie up the Senate, to waste time, and to try to slow down an administration that's working so hard to get our country back from the last 4 years of open borders and high prices that cost them the House, the Senate, and the White House. These aren't based on objections to somebody's qualifications for those positions. This is all meant to obstruct President Trump and obstruct the will of the voters. Lest the minority leader forget, it's President Trump who won all 7 of the battleground states in the presidential election in November of 2024. Well, Republicans are working through it. We confirmed every one of President Trump's cabinet at a record pace, and we're going to continue to work on all of these qualified nominees and get them all confirmed. We're united, and whether it's confirming nominations or passing our comprehensive economic plan, we are united on our mission. We will build an America that is safe and prosperous and strong, and not just for today, but for generations to come. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.